virtual family. Today we're going to talk about the book God's Sugar. We had the privilege of having the exclusive interview with Ms. Rochelle Graham. And today she's going to give us the inspiration behind her book, as well as give the message, and even provided us with a short excerpt. Ms. Rochelle is a licensed school counselor, a licensed associate counselor, wife, homeschool mother, and all-around hero. She is the wife of Mr. James Graham. And we're hoping that you enjoy this interview today. And remember that as our village grows and our village learns, we want to have positive people included in our village so that we can make the best impact on the world that we can. So again, we're interviewing the author of the book God's Sugar today, Ms. Rochelle Graham. Sit back, enjoy, and please go purchase the book. Today we're going to interview the author of the book God's Sugar, Miss Rochelle Graham, and we're also joined by her husband, Mr. James Graham. Hi, you guys.
Hello.
So one of the first questions I wanted to ask was, what was the inspiration for your book?
So my inspiration was my daughter, actually, one of the twins. She and I love to cook together. And she's one of my, I love the fact that she loves to eat healthy. So one day she asked me why is fruit so sweet? And I didn't know what to tell her. So I was like, well, it's like God's sugar. So it kind of came out like that. So she was like, oh, God's sugar, I like God's sugar, and it was just a great moment for us to share together. That she was enjoying eating something that tasted good, tasted sweet. And right after that, I would say like that night, I just started like trying to put some like rhymes together when it comes to like, kind of putting a book together. I always wanted to do that. And then I started asking her, I was like, what should we add to a book if we were going to do a book? And then we just kind of free wrote and free thought it out. So that's kind of the inspiration for it.
Wow.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Now, I was going to ask what the underlying message was, but it's healthy eating.
Mm-hmm. Yes, okay. Healthy eating and just really indulging in just good food and trying to help children realize that, healthy food doesn't have to taste bad. It can taste good. And then also one of the other purposes was to kind of go for like parent engagement, because I love when parents actually, read to their children every night or engage with their children. So I thought this book would be a great kind of catalyst for that, to turning children towards healthy eating.
Well, that's awesome. What is it that you do on a day-to-day basis? What is your profession?
So I am a psychotherapist. I'm an LPC. Yep. And so it's funny because people ask me like, what kind of geared you towards nutrition and things like that. And I have a practice. It's called Mindful Living Therapy and Counseling. And I do a lot of mindfulness techniques with my clients. And even when it comes to healthy eating or just breathing and just kind of helping them live their best lives through like natural, techniques and things like that. So it just kind of felt natural that I would go towards nutrition.
What about, do you have any breathing techniques for children, bad kids?
Not bad children.
Bad kids.
Right.
These days, you can't really discipline children is different. So they go for refocusing. And I think this is probably a psychotherapist's time. They're having a field day. So what do you recommend for bad kids that may be in our program?
See, I know you playing because I know you guys work with children all the time. So definitely no such thing as bad kids, but those challenging behaviors, right?
Yeah.
Those challenging behaviors, I always do with my children. I tell their parents to get involved. You can make it a game because children really learn through play anyway. So to teach them how to breathe, I tell parents, why don't you start off with like 2 cotton balls And that's my dog barking, sorry. But why don't you start off with 2 cotton balls and you put them, next to each other as if you're going to race, but you race by breathing and making those cotton balls go to the other end of the table. So now you're teaching them how to breathe just by playing, you know what I mean? And teaching them how to inhale through their nose and exhale through their mouth while they blow the cotton ball to the other side of the table, and just make it a fun thing. And that way they kind of have a natural instinct, and it's habitual to go to the objectivity is for them to respond to situations versus react. So you get them into the habit by playing games like mindful games and things like that.
Wow, that's awesome. Do you tell your husband to do those games when he get upset?
He won't listen to me. He told me I can't be his therapist. So I was like, all right.
That is true.
For the book, did he have any assistance, or did he help with anything? Or because I know parents and raising children and being a recipient of the food that's being cooked, that's a big thing. So how did you all's relationship work with the book too?
Well, let me say this before she starts.
Right.
I did not help with the book. She actually said, hey, how does this look, or how does this appear? I kind of gave my insight on the pictures that were drawn in the process. I was like, nah, that doesn't look like us. So we had to go back and forth a little bit.
With the illustrator, right?
Yeah, so we said, nah, that's not, no.
He was a hard critic when it came to the illustrator's job, yes.
Yeah, so other than that, the idea and the process was all hers. She went through the whole process of publishing and should we do it ourselves and things of that nature. I'm all about control. I'd rather, control, but when you just starting out, you got to learn this process. And she went through all of it. She did everything as far as, authoring and finding out the ins and outs of how to publish a book. Mm-hmm. And now she can do another book whenever she feels like it. She won't tell nobody, but, which is best. It's best. But it's all her. It was all her.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Is there another book?
I am working on another book, but I definitely want it to be not really about nutrition, but it's going to be about some mindfulness tools and techniques, but in a fun way that children can, read on their developmental level. So I'm looking to start that. I'm talking to the illustrator now to see kind of how we can finagle that. So yeah, it's a couple of books in my mind. It's a couple of books. Okay. I'm trying to one at a time.
Well, let me say this.
Actually written was like 2 a.m, and I just kind of I was like, okay, I got to do this. And I just went ahead and self-published it myself. And I spent from 2 a.m to 2 the next day, because I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, I have no idea. And that's when COVID hit last year, right away. And then I was just like, okay, well, how do I do this? How do I do that? So I just kind of took my time and spent a whole 72 hours trying to figure it out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had an early morning inspiration. You guys that have that, you are so blessed, because 2 a.m, I'm writing the book.
A lot of long nights, a lot of long
nights. I know. I think the next one I want to definitely do the next publishing, try to find a publishing house, or because I think as far as marketing, it's different when you self-publish, because you have to do the work yourself and put yourself out there. But once I find out how to kind of get in touch with other publishing companies and things, I think it'll flow a little differently.
But it's good again to see Black and brown characters on the screen, because again, it's so hard to find good books. If it's out there, I think a lot of people would buy it, especially the healthy eating movement. Dr. Sabian's. So
it's awesome that you guys are on that path, the Dr. Sebi, alkaline kind of path. It's very, it's different for a lot of people, and a lot of people need to know about that. So yeah, that's awesome. You guys are doing that.
I think what I enjoy about it is I know my children, well, all children mimic what they see. Yeah. So it's good to see people that they can go, oh, that kind of looks like me. So yeah, I can do that too. Even as far as when we interview authors, we have girls, and one of my daughters says, oh, when I grow up, I'm going to be an author. So now she can say, okay, I saw Miss Rochelle. And now an excerpt from God's Sugar by Miss Rochelle Graham.
All right. Summertime fun means eating juicy watermelons after swimming in the pool all day. My daddy saves the seeds for roasting instead of throwing them away.
I see you, James.
So many different colorful kinds of fruits for my family and I to enjoy. God's sugar is the healthiest choice, I think, for every girl and boy. Thank you.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's a lot of activities that can be done just centered around nutrition. And I mean, even the book, I homeschool 4 kids. So I'm always looking for like different and interesting things to do. I always say that education, or even just knowledge, but education, you want to teach your children kind of a way of life versus just like textbooks and things like that. So starting off with learning about just the body and the systems of the body and how it integrates and moves and everything. It's just a creative way. You could do a lot of creative things with the book, Sugar, or any other book for that matter, regarding activities and homeschooling or even just in schools. So I think, a lot of people haven't learned about the alkaline process, like you said, because it wasn't taught at home and it's not taught in schools. We're still going off of the food pyramid, whether it's eat milk, drink milk, eat cheese, and eat meats and all that kind of stuff. But we don't know that all of our bodies are different and it acts different with different foods. And this is just a great way to kind of correlate with that.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any things that you would like to talk about as far as homeschooling?
Oh, there's a lot of things. A lot of things in homeschooling. It's been a wonderful process, I would say. Homeschooling has been. We started in 2018, 2019 school year with my twin girls, and the boys were starting to. They started homeschool in 2019, 2020 school year. And I must say that just watching them grow in front of me as just productive, just citizens, I'm watching them be more philosophical. I'm watching them care more for our planet, care more about, who they are as people and become more philosophical than they ever been, because being at home and being taught to, be themselves and nurture their gifts versus being in the classroom with books that show them a certain type of history versus their own. They're able to just kind of take that leap and just be themselves. It's just really great to see and watch.
Awesome. I know during the pandemic, it was funny. Prior to pandemic, a lot of parents, I will never do that.
Yeah.
But pandemic hit,
Oh,
you
man.
were already homeschooling, you were basically a step above everyone.
I had a whole lot of people in my inbox. The very same people that said I should not homeschool were the very same people asking me for advice or suggestions. So I was like, look at God, there you go.
It just flipped all over.
It just flipped. It flipped. I got a little voice in my head that said, in 2018, that said, you need to go ahead and teach your children. You're your children's first teacher and their best teacher. And I just went with it. I just flew. God is either going to push you off that ledge or you're going to fall. So I allowed to be pushed. So
wow. So that's awesome.
Great. Thank you.
I think that's something we definitely want to focus on. Also, homeschooling.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know my wife wanted to homeschool. I'm still against it, but that is her thing. And when the pandemic hit, it's like I could see her finger pointing in my face.
Yes.
We had the choice to do virtual or do half and half. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, let's do virtual and let's just go ahead. This is basically start of homeschooling. So let's get a taste of it. So I don't know if she prayed and God just changed the whole world so she can get it.
Yes.
It just happened that way. So that's awesome. Wow.
Thank you.
For people who are going to have to make the choice to use public school.
Yes. There are so many ways to enrich your child's education. And one of the things that people think, they think it takes probably more hours out their day or, more like sleepless days or nights. And really, if you dedicate, I would say 15 to 20 minutes or, you know, maybe a half hour to do something different, it's going to be enriching. Like we have enrichment in our homeschool. We have picture study one day, we have music study, we have hymn study. And these are all different days. And we have nature study. So while your child's at school, you know, they're doing their thing, once they come home, to enrich them with like African-American education, you know, specifically, or whatever kind of education you want, do like a simple picture study. You know, right now we're following the method of like Charlotte Mason method. But what I do with picture study, I go ahead and I introduce my children to Black artists. Our artist for this semester, or for this term, is Jacob Lawrence. Last semester, it was
Ernie Barnes.
Ernie Barnes. Yes, it was Ernie Barnes. That's so really. Yeah. So really just go ahead and get a picture or like a photo of their art. Let them look at it for like a minute or two, and then turn it over. And because they've already memorized what's on that picture, and tell them to narrate what they saw. Now you've integrated language, arts, and expression. You've integrated studying habits, and you integrated an African-American person they probably never heard of yet. So it's all those three things in 10 minutes. So really homeschooling doesn't take that long. It's just that when in public school, you have, 8 hours of school, because you have behavioral issues, you have to, change classes, you have transitions, you have lunch, you have all these things. So really your child is only getting an hour education anyway at a public school, so yeah. Wow. And so with nature study, it's nature study, you can do the same thing. You can go outside. Nature is probably, it's school itself. You go outside and, climbing a hill or picking up a rock challenges a child because you're picking something up that's heavy. Now you've learned about mass and gravity and weight. And then you also go into geological studies, and just going out in nature is challenging itself, but it's beautiful enough to be nurtured. So, and then music study. Right now we're studying Joseph Ballone. Last time it was William Grant Still, and those are Black composers I've never heard of growing up. But you just, while they're eating dinner, coming home from school, just play the songs from these two composers. They'll get it in their head. The more you do something, the more they're programmed. And the more they see the people on YouTube, the more they're programmed. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things you can do within 5 minutes. And that 5 minutes every day adds up to a lot. If you want to, but a lot of our homeschool is very student or child-centered, I would say. And they lead to what they want to learn, and they just pick up stuff. Even children with special needs, because I have a son who has expressive language delay and communication needs. So even with him, I've seen a total change with him, and he's become more confident in his abilities and things like that. So awesome. Yeah.
I think, again, it takes a village, and hearing you talk and what you're saying, plus you're a psychotherapist, so you're probably looking at me and Jessica.
Yeah,
probably
like, hold on, don't say too much.
No, you guys. So you guys are you run the day home. I advocate for staying home. There's so many things that you can do as a stay-at-home mom. You can live out your dream, make money, and still be home with your children. But to be able to do that is a blessing. So that's great.
And poor dad, we got to hustle. James, we have to hustle.
Hey, I ain't saying anything.
He was like,
yes.
I'm in the background running. I'm running all day.
Right. I will give him credit. I mean, he's done an amazing job to allow me to even go back to school to get my master's. I stayed home with our first son and, our second son and everything. And it was hard at some days, but, I think working together, it really shines a light on how important it is to be at home with your children. You see the effects of it later on. So that's amazing. So he's been an amazing supporter, an amazing provider. So.
Oh, Black love.
Yeah.
Great to see that. I would love to add, I do homeschool consulting, and I run parent education groups. And that's like my expertise. I do psychotherapy with people with trauma-related symptoms, anxiety, depression, but children, parent education, and just homeschooling. That's like my area. Yeah. So Instagram, I have, it is at the Omega 4 Homeschool. That's my Instagram. And Mindful Living is Mindful Living Therapy and Counseling at Mindful Living Therapy and Counseling. So far I'm getting my website together and everything, but soon that'll be up. But that's pretty much it.
Awesome.
Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, he's a young illustrator. On the up and on the come up. And I told him, I was like, you need to charge me more, but he didn't. So I didn't really I didn't spend more. But later on, I said, once I do the second one, I have to give you more because he really worked his tail off. He really did a good job. So. Bye, beautiful couple. Thank you.
So James and Rochelle, tell them what our village does.
Our village learns.
Our village learns.